You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Y'all, I cannot believe it. It is our 100th episode of School Counseling Simplified. This is crazy. 100 episodes. Wow, if I think about how much time I've been sitting in front of my little microphone, that seems like a lot. But I love doing this podcast. I love hearing how much you guys love it. Please continue to share with me your favorite episodes and what you like and whatnot. We're doing a special giveaway over on Instagram. So head to my Instagram today at Bright Futures Counseling to get all of the details and to enter to win. I will be giving away 1 free month of my Impact School Counseling membership. Okay, guys, thank you so much. I could not do this podcast without your love and support. This is awesome. Yay! 100 episodes. Does the thought of going back to school and teaching class lessons overwhelm you? Out of everything in my school counseling career, classroom lessons were one of the things I felt the least prepared for. We definitely didn't learn this in grad school. I definitely made some mistakes along the way, which is why I want to share what I've learned with you. Join me in my free live masterclass, 3 mistakes counselors make in the classroom and what to do instead, where I'll be teaching you how to keep students engaged, manage behaviors, and measure your lessons' effectiveness so you can feel prepared and confident going into this year's lessons. Go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/mistakes to save your seat. Hey there, thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. So I want to continue our chat about classroom counseling lessons by talking about how you can teach when you're not a teacher. So I love this topic because if you're anything like me, you likely had no teaching experience before you did your first class lesson. I had a bachelor's in psychology, then got my master's in school counseling, but I never had a teaching credential. I never took a teaching class in college or in grad school, and I definitely felt unprepared. Now, I know a few of you were probably teachers before you were counselors. I actually love when that happens because I feel like you bring such a unique perspective because you've already been, on the teacher side of things in the classroom, and then you become a counselor. That's really cool. But it's not a prerequisite. So I know many people, have never been a teacher before. Now they're a counselor. They go in to teach class lessons and they're like, oh, I'm teaching a whole class? I don't feel ready for this. I know exactly how you feel because that's how I felt, right? But over the years, I've collaborated with teachers to learn some strategies to improve my classroom management skills. And through trial and error, I've developed a few things on my own as well. So I want to share those with you today. So I have 4 things you can do to help you feel more prepared to teach classroom counseling lessons. So first up, you want to develop some classroom management strategies. Now, I always alternate the terms classroom management and behavior management, but I want to remind you that these are proactive strategies. It's not that they're always bad. You believe me, you want to proactively manage your classroom. You don't want to wait until the kids are out of control to try to bring them back in. So a few things you can do. One is really simple, a class callback. So that's having a way to get the kids to listen to you without raising your voice after they're, busy doing some independent work. So perhaps you have them split into groups to do role play. Everyone's excited, and having a little fun, getting kind of loud. And then you want to get them back together to come to their desk to reflect and review. Well, you need to get them back. How are you going to do that? And in my experience, being like, hey guys, okay, let's wrap it up. That doesn't really work, right? Similarly, you don't want to yell at them to get their attention because that's never a good strategy. And oftentimes they'll, lose respect for you or not even listen anyways. So what you want to do is establish a class callback. So this can be anything like class, yes, yes, or if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. You've heard these before. I've even had teachers have silly ones. There was a restaurant, a fast food chain called Red Robin in California when I worked there. And one of the teachers used their little song, their little jingle with her class, Red Robin. And then all the kids would say, yum. So it can literally be silly. Now, you have a couple options with this. You could develop your own class callback as the counselor and do the same one with all the kids. It'll take them a little while, to learn it, but then it's oh, the counselor's here. This is what she does to get our attention. You could do that, or you could switch it up for each class. So you can ask the teacher, hey, what's your class callback? And then use it. So you might need to write it in your notes, oh, I'm going to do this one with this class. That requires a little more effort on your part, but you may have a better outcome because the kids are already familiar and used to that one, right? So up to you, whichever way you want to do that, but a class callback is a great preventative classroom management strategy. Another one is music. So I love to use music to help with transitions. So you can turn some music on while they're doing activity and tell them, okay, I'm going to turn on this song. When the song ends, we're going to return to our desk. So that's, a nonverbal cue that you can give them to know what to do next. Which leads me into my third classroom management strategy, which is having clear directions. So this is the ultimate proactive one. Tell the kids, okay, this is what we're going to do next. When you're finished with that, this is what I need you to do. Every time I talk to teachers, I'm blown away by how often they say the words like expectations and procedures, because they know, the kids need to know what's expected of them, because when they don't, then people crumble, right? So they need to know, okay, I'm doing this, and when I'm finished with this, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to turn it in over here, or I'm going to put my pencil back over here. So clear directions, visual directions, reminders, those are all great proactive classroom management strategies. Okay, that was my first tip. Next up, what can you do to be more prepared teaching class lessons? Observe and talk to teachers. So like I mentioned, I've asked teachers before, hey, what's your callback strategy? Or hey, what do you do to get the kids' attention? Or hey, these two kids are always off task. What do I do? They know. They're with the kids every day, right? So instead of trying it on your own or not asking for help, I'm sure they're happy to help you. So ask them. They're likely like, oh yeah, I had to develop this for that student. That's great. Once you learn that, then you can use it when you're in their classroom. And simply observe them, especially at the beginning of the school year. Take some time. Your schedule's likely, not as crowded yet. Take some time to hop in some classrooms and just observe the different teachers' teaching styles. This does two things. One, you can see how they are with their classes, and you can make notes like, oh, okay, Miss Jones does this with her class. I'm going to remember that when I go in there. Or you can just get an overall vibe check on what you like and what you don't like. So you're like, ooh, I like the way this teacher does that. Ooh, I don't like the way that teacher does this. So when you see that, you can determine how you want to be in your class lessons, because you're learning, right? You're brand new. You don't know what to do. You were never trained in this. So this is a way to, learn from those who were trained. So ask questions and observe teachers. The next thing you can do to feel prepared to teach class lessons is to use a script. Now, I don't want you to be standing up there reading a sheet of paper the whole time. Like, we all know this, right? But if you have like a rough outline of what you're going to do, or how, you're going to tell the students, okay, next we're going to do this, and the order of what you're going to do things in, this helps the kids feel more confident because they know you're more confident. You're not like, okay, now we're going to, well, you know what, guys, scratch that. Let's, okay, let's do that. They're like, whoa, what is she saying? I don't know. But if you have a script and a plan where you're like, okay, guys, today we're going to talk about empathy. Empathy is, you can read a little bit if you need to, but obviously you just want to reference it. You don't want to be reading it verbatim the whole time. It's just a way for you to follow along. This way you can make sure that your entire lesson's getting taught and you're not forgetting pieces or leaving things out. But it's also a way to guide the students through those transitions. The other thing you could do is to do this using Google Slides or like a PowerPoint. So if you're doing a digital lesson, this is a perk of a digital lesson, is you have a slide deck, and you can refer to your slides to know what to say next or what's going to come next. Your slides kind of serve as your script. And lastly, the last way that you can feel prepared to teach class lessons is to plan engaging content during your classroom lesson. So for example, if your lesson's really boring, the kids are going to be bored, and what do bored kids do? They act out, right? They're going to do things to get not bored. So if you have an engaging, fun lessons, the kids are going to be all into it and participating. And when you have the kids participating, that's when you know that they're going to stay on task. Now, it can be hard. I'm actually going to help you with this, more details in the next episode on how you can create engaging lessons. And don't forget, I have that freebie for you guys with 15 strategies to engage your students during class lessons. So be sure to download that. We'll link to it in the show notes, but it's also stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/engage. So download that freebie for some ideas. And in the next episode, I'm actually doing a bonus episode this week. So it'll come out on Thursday. And in that episode, I'm going to share with you some engagement strategies as well and some tools you can use to engage your students. So stick around for those things. But the reason this helps with classroom management is because the more that kids are engaged and they're into a lesson, then they're participating, they're active, they feel like it's about them, then they're going to give it the respect it deserves, and they're not going to get distracted or off task. Most kids, And also the kids kind of sense it. They can tell when you're unprepared. They can tell when you put this together last minute and you don't really know what's going on. And then they feel like, well, she doesn't really value our time or, our class, so we don't really value her. And then they perhaps could be disrespectful. So having an engaging lesson is another preventative strategy for classroom management. Okay, guys, I hope you found this episode helpful. You now have 4 ways to feel more prepared to teach class lessons. That's using those proactive classroom management strategies, talking with and observing teachers, using a script or slide deck, and having an engaging lesson prepared. If you're interested in this topic and you're looking for more ways to improve your classroom lessons, you've got to check out my free live masterclass where I'll be sharing 3 mistakes counselors make in the classroom and what to do instead. You'll walk away with strategies to keep students engaged, manage behaviors, and measure your lessons' effectiveness so you can feel prepared and confident going into this year's lessons. I'm offering a few different times so you can pick the one that works best for you. It's going to be on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com/mistakes to get all the details and to save your seat. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you on Thursday for our bonus episode.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.